So you guys are brothers and you're a duo. Tell me a little bit about how you started. Was it inevitable because you're siblings, or did you give it some real thought? How did that evolve?
Well, I started as far as music goes, I started playing music first, and then Nick was kinda tagging along to a bunch of shows and things that I was doing, and then Nick developed his own interests in bashing drums, and then one thing led
Mhm.
to another.
Yeah.
Steve was going to the open mics and he learned guitar first when he was coming up, and I would follow along all his drumming friends. And then he was up in Boston at the music school Berkeley, and all his roommates were all drummers, so they all taught me a thing or two, and I would stay with them and roadie for their bands. And then Steve migrated back home to go to guitar building school to become a luthier. That we're in his luthier shop right now. And so on that journey to take him down to Georgia to go to luthier school, we, started formulating ideas of having our own band. And I started a band with my best friend. And by default, we asked Steve to be in it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got
So
the
it wasn't,
invite, Steve.
I yeah, Nick this
and
Nick Nick started his own project
Excuse me.
separate from what I was doing, basically, and then
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
they invited me to come jam with them. And then, through many iterations of different projects with different people, everybody went their own way, and it was just left with just Nick and I.
Stuck with your brother, eh?
That's
That's the
right.
way.
So there's no
but
getting
then, yeah, then
there's no getting
we
away from.
started touring more heavily as just as a duo, and we would always have special guests. And then we got signed to a record label in Europe, and we were doing a bunch of touring in
Right.
Europe. So they wanted us just as the brothers, as a duo. So then we started shaping our sound a little bit more to fit that, rather than always trying to have guests or hire more musicians and whatnot. So since then we've been a strictly a duo,
Makes
but
sense.
we still have a lot of guests and stuff, but we're the core members.
The duo
Right.
was,
Right.
yeah, it was kind of an accident. Yeah, it wasn't the original plan. There was
Right.
not there was always the beginnings of it was always with more expanded versions of a band. And
Yeah.
and people just kind of stopped showing up. So we figured out how to do it with just the two of us, and it's now developed into kind of become more interesting to to
Right.
uh to figure out how to pull off the full band production with just the two of us. And so now
Mhm.
that's how we do it.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah. Forgive my ignorance, but what are you saying? Luthier school? What is that?
yeah. So a luthier is somebody that builds and or repairs stringed instruments, and so in my
Okay.
case, it's
Interesting.
guitars.
Hmm.
So I have a custom guitar shop that we are
Nice.
standing in right now. If you can
Nice.
see
Yeah. Let's see.
behind us, there's a bunch of guitars and instruments and things. And
Yep.
That's
anyway,
totally cool. Yeah.
Uh, so that's what I do when I'm not on the
Cool.
road is I'm making guitars, making instruments, Balkun guitars, you
Nice.
can see.
Nice. And then do
Um,
you sell them? I guess. Or
absolutely.
you just
Yeah.
yeah.
Sell
Awesome.
them, play them. Um,
Yeah.
obviously the instruments that, I'm using on stage are my custom made instruments.
Very cool.
And a big part of our sound is the custom instruments that I make, and big part of
Okay.
how we pull off a big full rock band sound with just the two of us. As I've created these custom baritone guitars that are equipped uh, with pickups that can run through guitar amplifiers and bass amplifiers, and so I'm essentially playing guitar and bass at the same time,
Wow.
while Nick is playing drums, and we do it all live instead of having backing tracks or loops or
Right.
extra sound. So we're able to pull off the big
That's
rock
very
band's
cool. Yeah.
sound
Very
without,
cool.
yeah, and we don't need a bass player at this point.
Right. Right. There you go. You cut out the middleman, so they say.
Exactly. So yeah, but a big part of that is that I know how to make instruments. So
Yeah. That comes in handy, I guess.
it absolutely
So
does.
tell me a little bit about your sound. I know that you blend a lot of different sounds, like some punk, some metal in there. If someone's new to your music or hasn't heard it yet, how would you best describe your sound?
We always just say it's it's rock and roll.
Rock and
It's
roll.
always been deeply rooted in funk, and our first band was a funk band.
Blues.
Yeah, we had a if you look us up on all the streaming services, some of our biggest songs are like traditional blues. So we did a lot of blues when we were coming up. Our first couple albums have a bunch of traditional blues, and
There's a
we
lot of the first shows that we were playing were at blues clubs and
right.
blues jams and things. So there
Yep.
was a lot of
Right.
that.
Yep.
But
And
we came up in the '90s listening to heavy alternative rock and metal and punk rock, and
Mhm.
so all of it works its way in there. But it's loud. If you like loud guitars and loud drums and whatever mixture
Then
of
we're in the
that,
right place.
yeah,
yeah, we
that's
we love great rock and roll, classic rock. Our parents were all into the Doors and Led Zeppelin, and
Mhm.
we have we have one older brother, and he was always influencing us with his record collection and Nirvana and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So that all melded together, and that's what we have. It's we love deep metal and heavy punk and all that type of stuff too. So it all finds its way in there. We love psychedelic jam bands and a lot of improvising, and we're into jazz and funk. So it all
Right,
finds its
right.
way into there somehow. We try and not limit ourselves to one genre, and we still mix it all together to this day. If you listen to
Yeah.
our new album, it's still all in there.
I like that, and it's, it's, I guess, obvious based on what you've said that you draw from a variety of genres, and then that affects your music. And that was going to kind of be my next question. What were some of your influences? But you kind of covered that. So maybe tell me if you could create a super group, let's say of four guys, dead or alive, who would you pick to form that super group?
that are alive.
She said dead or alive, I think,
Dead or
right?
alive?
Dead
Yeah,
or
yeah,
alive,
yeah.
dead or alive. Jimi Hendrix would have to be in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lemmy. We love Lemmy. We love Motorhead.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um,
Um, I'll let you pick the drummer.
I mean, I've always been big influenced by John Bonham and Mitch Mitchell and John Densmore from the Doors. So those
But
guys.
that's three different
I know.
drummers.
It's hard for me to decide on one. That's
It's a
You're making
band.
a short list, that's
It's
okay.
a band. It's a band that has Jimi Hendrix, Lemmy, and then three drummers.
Right. I could see. I don't know if there's ever been a band with 3 drummers, so you could
right.
be onto something new. Who
That would be
knows?
pretty. That would be pretty awesome. And that's I
You
would say
know
that's a pretty
that
fair.
fits with what we're about.
That's right, yeah.
That's a pretty fair.
Alternative in a whole different, meaning of the word, I
Sure,
guess.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
yeah. And if you look at our last album that we put out was a live album. It was the first live album we did, and we had double drummer. We did two
Oh,
drummers. So yeah.
cool,
We had a guest
cool.
drummer.
So
I
tell me a
think.
little bit about your shows. Did you tell me at the beginning that you did a lot of touring in Europe first?
Yes. We did a solid five or 6 years just touring, the East Coast, going up and down the East Coast and doing the Midwest. Um and then we started touring with some other artists, and we went on 6 European tours and signed a record deal with a label in Paris. So we got to tour
Cool.
France a lot. We did France, Germany, Luxembourg,
Belgium.
Holland, Belgium. Yeah, some of our biggest shows were over there pre-pandemic, and then once the pandemic hit, we kind of have just been over here for the
Mhm.
last a few
Yeah.
years. But yeah, we
And
just
is there a difference playing for European audiences versus North American audiences, or is it all kind of the same once you're in front of once you're performing?
I think there's an enthusiasm for rock and roll over overseas that we also find over here too. It's very similar, but it was certainly kind of mind blowing showing up places where we've obviously never been. We have no idea where we are, and people are
Mhm.
showing up very enthusiastic about the shows, and just massive shows that we played over there. It was yeah, really good energy, really good reception, and uh, but we find that in the United States too. It's yeah, there's cultural differences and things, and
Right.
language, but
yeah, music and rock and roll are pretty much universal, we found, which
yeah,
Mhm.
is
Right.
yeah,
awesome. It's really cool to be like an American import when you go over to another country.
Right.
They're excited to see something fresh and new, and exciting. But if we go to a new state in the U.S. that we've never been to, or a new city where people are looking forward to hearing something brand new, it's always universal, that deep heavy guitar and the kick drum smacks in, it's on.
Right, right. Well, Canada has a pretty big rock and roll
Sure.
audience, so you should think about
Yeah,
coming up here sometime.
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, we were supposed to do a Canadian tour, but it got thwarted by our first European tour.
Right. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, so
You had to
we'll
pick.
yeah, at this point, maybe
But we'll make it.
Canada.
We'll make it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So tell me, guys, what's kind of happening right now? Are you writing, creating, touring? What's on the go?
We just did a big run. We did California, and then we did all the Midwest and came back.
But we just released an album.
Right, right.
So
So
we're pushing the new record, and we're always writing and making new stuff. So there's always projects uh
Right.
coming up. But right now we
Yeah.
just released a record called Two Leather Jackets that we recorded out in California.
Yeah.
And Nick has a studio here, so we're always, doing stuff in the studio. We've got multiple projects happening too, and
Hmm.
there's all kinds of stuff. And
yeah, we have a few big festivals coming up. A couple stoner doom festivals coming up, and then we're
Right.
doing a big
I guess
show.
it's festival season kind of starting about now, right? So
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
not here, of course, because we still have snow, but hopefully not for
Our
much
ours just
longer.
melted. Yeah,
yeah.
ours just
Did it?
melted. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we got slammed a couple of weeks ago with like 100 centimeters. So just when we
Yeah.
thought we were kind of in the clear.
Holy
Hmm.
moly!
Anyways,
Yeah.
well, that's life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
We we know how that goes. I
Yep.
mean, we're in
y-
New England. We're used to snow.
Yeah.
oh, okay, so you get it. You get
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
So if someone's listening to your new album, where would they start? What song would you pick off of that album for a new listener?
I would start right at the beginning.
Yeah, our self-titled, or the title track is called Two Leather Jackets. That kicks off the
Okay.
album. Um, that's definitely one of our favorites lately to play live. It gets the crowd going, and it's energetic punk
Hmm.
rocker,
Yeah,
straight
it's
ahead.
Cool.
good
Yeah.
high energy. It kicks right in. It'll give you a real good taste of what the band is about right now.
Yep.
But it's it's a pretty it's not a long record, so I'd say just throw it on, listen to the whole thing straight
Just listen
through.
to it front
Yeah,
to back, right?
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crank it up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
start right at the beginning. Why not?
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to get my hair done now, so I'll throw it on and listen to it while I'm in the chair, pass some time. Um, Guys, it was great to meet you. You have a really interesting story. I love everything about what you're doing with the duo, and I love the workshop vibe in the background there. That's
Yeah.
really cool too.
So,
Where can people go to find out some more about you?
Our website is just balkunbrothers.com. It's just our last name, Balkun. And we're on all the streaming services. Just look up Balkun Brothers and all the social media platforms. We just did a jam in the van performance, so you can find that on YouTube, which we did in California and Los Angeles. With its features 4 of our new songs that were on the new album, so you can watch those
Nice.
live.
Nice.
yep.
And yeah, just come check us out at a show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me today. It was great to meet you and great to speak with you both.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.